I know I'm a little late to the game and I'm going to try and make it quick, but just for anyone who is undecided or who maybe I can convince, this is why I'm voting Remain and why I think you should too. The major issue I have with the Leave campaign is the same as a lot of people's, that it is a fear-mongering, lie-spreading campaign of paranoia. Immigrants are not a huge issue in the UK, at least not the way racist old UKIP supporters seem to think they are. 1 in 10 doctors in the NHS is a European immigrant. European immigrants pay more in taxes into the NHS than they take from it. Immigrants often pick up jobs that nobody else is taking because nobody else wants them. They don't magically get jobs that they aren't qualified for purely because they're immigrants. It doesn't work like that. Ultimately, it comes down to the fact that immigration is not the problem. This is another case of working class people being pit against other working class people to stop us from looking at the actual problem, the people at the top, the MPs and the bankers and the rich people. They're the problem. The system we live in and the division of people is the problem, not immigrants. I do not believe that the way to fix any problem is to divide people further than we're already divided. I personally feel that borders in themselves are dangerous and destructive. The idea of splitting up land into little pieces and telling people whether they can or can't come into that bit of land that I've claimed as my own is absurd to me. So the UK storming out of the EU in a sulk is equally ridiculous. To me, it feels like a long-term relationship and the EU is a grumpy boyfriend who doesn't like that sometimes he has to cook his girlfriend a meal if he wants to get laid. We can't take all the benefits of the EU with none of the actual contribution. It's not fair and it's kind of stupid. There are issues with the EU, of course. There are issues with any bureaucratic institution run by privileged people, but in the same way that I don't feel I could fix the UK's problems by moving to America, the UK is not going to fix the problems of the EU by leaving. We need to be a little bit less selfish, a little bit less self-centred, and remember that there are other people and other countries in the EU who also have problems, and that maybe we should talk to them, band together with them, try and find out what the major problems are with the EU and fix them together. It is called the European Union, after all, so we should be uniting. Linking to that, we need to be more unified, not less. In the face of the possibility of things like Trump's American presidency, the ever-present danger of Putin in Russia, near constant fear of terrorism, we should be sticking together to remain strong and strategise about what we can do about all these dangers facing everyone. And just not be a dick. The uncertainty and economic imbalance that would follow in the years after leaving the EU is not something the UK can take. The potential benefits of leaving the EU, most of which are kinda bullshit anyway, are way outweighed by the potential for huge job loss, rights loss, economic recession, which we've only just gotten out of, barely, loss of trade. It's just dangerous. Ultimately, I feel that the world in general would run a hell of a lot smoother if world leaders would talk to each other like adults rather than sulking and ignoring each other because they can't get the way they want. There's no room for immature, paranoid decisions led by xenophobia and fear when you're running a major country. This is the future of generations. Please, please, please remember who is going to have to live with this decision. Who is going to be living in this country for 70, 80 odd years. It's people like me, 18-year-olds, teenagers, young people, some of whom don't even have any say because they're under the age of 18. What we want and what we need is what should be happening. We're going to have to live with the consequences. So please vote. Vote Remain.